Daniel, I want to let you know that right now you are talking to a global B1G1 audience, and a global B1G1 audience is pretty interesting because right now you don't realize this, although you did see the replay from last year. They are already giving you a standing ovation just because you're here on camera. This is called How to Embarrass Daniel. It's a thrill to be taking time with you, and thank you for being here yet again.
It was a great interview last time. So,
well, and you know what? This time I thought we might even have more structure. Would that be okay if I gave us some structure? So, I thought we'd do three things. I thought we'd do an update. And since we're actually framing this all around purpose, I thought that we might get into thank yous, purpose, how you articulate it, how you make it central to what you do, and the impact of all that. Then, if you're okay with it, we might do the 12-month view, from like from here. And then there is one other thing, and that is I want to talk to you about grandchildren, but we'll get to that.
We just had one child, but let's talk about grandchildren. It's important.
So let's start with the update. Last time we spoke, you were talking about the just released thank you book, of course, and you were talking about extending thank you's product range plus its geographical spread and so on. And I remember at the time thinking none of that is easy, right? So just update us. What's been happening?
Well, Paul, it turns out that thought you had was probably right. It wasn't easy. It's been the toughest 12-month period of our whole journey at Thank You.
Wow.
It's had some incredible highs. Like, I'll share some of the highs and maybe we'll unpack some of the lows, but almost to the height and the peaks of these moments, you can almost say you've had some direct, valley moments and troughs and issues. And I think for all of us wanting to create change, wanting to grow, wanting to take our ideas and really build on them, if that's our ambition, it's a great ambition, but it comes with a lot of pain, and a lot of commitment and sacrifice. And I think, when we launched Chapter 1, I wasn't quite ready for what would happen next.
And for those who don't know what Chapter 1 is, that's the beautiful book. You're probably going to show it to us right there. There you go. There it is right there, Chapter 1.
Product placement. You got to get good at this, Paul. But Chapter 1 was really, it was a twofold project. One was, it was written for the purpose of raising funds. 100% of the profit from Chapter 1, the book, would fund Chapter 2, the future of Thank You. And in our launch, I explained that the future begins with the launch of Thank You Baby. So nappies or diapers, depending which part of the world you're from, to fund infant maternal health, then New Zealand, then beyond. But the second fold idea behind Chapter 1 was it was an empowerment tool for others. Whatever your next chapter is, whatever change you want to create in the world, here's everything we've learned, and it's for you. And take it and do what you want with it. And we set this ambitious target to raise $1.2 million to launch into New Zealand and to launch our baby range. And apologies for all this background noise right now, but
you're good.
But what happened is we didn't hit 1.2 million in our first 28 days. When we launched Chapter 1, we hit 1.44 million.
I remember. Yeah, we were at 1.4 last time we spoke. Yeah, it was amazing.
And today it's sitting at 2.4 million from Chapter 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 1.8 million profit, 2.4 mil revenue, just under 100,000 copies sold, and a bestseller in Australia is 5,000 copies.
Yeah, I know.
The book right now still does between $10,000 to $20,000 a week in sales on average. And well, some things that happen from that. I mean, I remember week 3 of the campaign, Seth Godin, who's like, in my mind, just like
Seth is up there.
He's a godfather of marketing. I'm like, Seth, he bought the book. I wrote in it fan mail, Dear Seth, and that literally in November, Jared and I got picked up by him in his Tesla. We went to his home office and learnt so much, and it was such a great moment. Chapter 1's opened all these doors, but I mentioned it's been hard. Everyone talks about growing pains, and I just don't think we talk about how painful they are sometimes. And we've scaled up so quickly. New product lines, new staff, 55 staff now.
Wow, because you had 34 last time we were speaking, yeah?
Yeah, so a few more staff, gets more complex. The challenges get, I suppose, just bigger based on the numbers. So you can have an error and you might make an order. You do an order wrong. And in the early days, that might cost a few $1,000s. Now it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can have these moments where, I mean, I was, I'm always very open. I sometimes end up sharing too much, but it's just between us. But, we some supply chain issues where people are ordering literally years worth of stock as a mistake. And you sit there going, but how did we do that? And the truth is, our systems and our processes aren't scaling up to the level we need them to. So the organization's growing, that's all happening, but we're still back here. And I had a reporter ask me, and the media have been so good to us this last year. I mean, over maybe 400 media features, so much positive stuff. But one reporter, she's like, what's the next big thing for Thank You? And I think a lot of people are waiting for the next big thing. And I'll tell you what it is in a second, but Australia Financial Review this week did this whole thing about Thank You in the hand wash category, contributing like 75% of the growth that the supermarkets are experiencing. Wow. In the top 5 hand washers in grocery in Australia, Thank You has 3 of them. It's mind blowing. But the next big thing for us is 2 words, which is operational excellence. Which is not super exciting to someone like me. I'm like, did you say America? No, operational excellence. Because if we don't get the fundamentals right, and I'm so grateful for mentors and our board and the people around us, we're not going to be built to last. And at Thank You right now, one of the big phrases we are talking about is better before bigger. And
interesting.
We're getting bigger, but unless we get better at what we do, more efficient, better discipline, better leaders, even for myself. I've probably read more books this year than I ever have before. I'm hungry to learn because, with every new level you go to, the challenges get bigger and, the pressure gets a little stronger.
Is that, Daniel, does that get us in? By the way, thank you for that. And thank you as always for being so open. It's stunning. Is that, a lot of people talk about purpose as if it's the driving force and it's kind of like all you've got to have, right? And we want to talk about that. But has that been like in a sense, is it like, oh my gosh, we've got to have that drives us, but there's other things that we've got to have in place to be, as you said, built to last?
Yeah, I think at Thank You, we say we're driven by impact. All profits impact, we're driven by impact. But we have to be careful that sometimes impact or your purpose can end up almost justifying slack, laziness. I'm not saying we're lazy, but mistakes or, we're driven by purpose. Now, hang on a second. Because of our purpose, we must be operationally best in class. We must be the best run business organization, and that means we get the fundamentals right. And the fundamentals in business haven't changed. I mean, sure, the platforms have changed and there's a whole bunch of new things and we're all trying to learn whatever the next social network is and we're trying to figure out stuff like that. But the fundamentals of business haven't changed. The fundamentals of finance, balance sheets, the fun stuff like that.
The stuff that you and I really love, right? Yeah.
I actually said one of our board members, Graham, who's amazing, and I talk about him in chapter 1. He's now 78 years old, and he had 150 businesses within his 30,000 staff, $1 billion company. When he first joined the board, he kept saying balance sheet, balance sheet. I'm like, to be honest, I don't even read the balance sheet. Anyway, I've learned you can't say things like that in the real world, and that was a few years ago now, and I've learned a lot about balance sheets, but the fundamentals haven't changed. And so I think particularly for purpose-driven organizations, because of our purpose, we've got to get the other stuff right. And not even just right, we've got to be best in class. We've got to be pushing for that operational excellence because of our purpose. And I think if we're driven like that, Martin Luther King, pretty sure it's Martin Luther King says this, and we love this quote at Thank You. All labour that uplifts humanity must be taken with painstaking excellence. I think that sums it up.
That's a huge learning. And so, in a sense, I mean, last time we talked about your purpose. We talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. We talked about ending poverty by the time, by 2030 and so on. So all of that stuff is still there, right? And that's the stuff that you're, when you're hiring people, that's what it's all about. But what you're saying is now you're adding in this thing. In order for us to do that, there's other things that we have to take care of. Is that a way of saying what you're saying?
Yeah, and we developed, in the last year, we developed what we call the Thank You House. It's just a little internal sketch that sums it up. And what you've got in the house is you've got the vision, which is the foundation block. And the vision for us, which we've refined in this last year, it's really what we call here our purpose statement. It's the reason we exist. And it simply says, empowering humanity to choose a world without poverty. That's what we do. Empowering humanity. We're here to empower you to choose a hand wash, but really you're choosing a world without poverty. In developing countries, you get a well, but you and your family have to choose to use it. We're empowering you, but it's your choice. So that's our foundation, empowering a world to choose a world without poverty. The next step is our values, which is, we've got our vision, but the values is what's built us. So we've got, our values on integrity, on excellence, on pioneering. So we've got our values that sit there, and they're part of the foundation. The next layer in our foundation is this great Maori quote, which Ben, who's our general manager for New Zealand, mentioned to us and stuck with us. But essentially it's, my bravery is inherited from the chiefs of old, those who've gone before me. For us, that's that next layer. So when you have your vision, your values, and you know what, we're here because of those that have gone before us, the next part of our house is the pillars. And our pillars are things like game-changing creative. That's a pillar for us. The best people. That's a pillar. I'm talking about internal organisation, the best people. Preferred partner, as in we want to be Coles and Woolworths' best customer. We want them to go, we love working with Thank You. We want our suppliers to go, Thank You are the best supplier. So preferred partner, game-changing creative. These are our pillars, but the roof of the house. And there's a few more pillars. You're testing me because this is new, but the roof of the house is really interesting. There's two sides to it. One side of the roof is empowerment, and one side is legacy. Because if we get the foundation right, if we get each of our core pillars, great product is another one, so great product, game-changing creative, if we get these pillars right, we'll empower people and we'll build a legacy. Legacy is very important at Thank You because it's about being built to last, not just flash in the pan change. And if we get all that right, that linchpin at the very top, kind of the cornerstone, is impact. That's impact. But if any of this doesn't stack up, there is no impact. Wow. So everything we build is towards impact. And that we developed that in this last year because we're trying to sum up this really tough fight between purpose and being a good business and what takes priority. The house sums it up. Everything builds to that. We get this wrong, there is no impact, and the greatest impact comes from fulfilling that. So that's where we're at.
The clarity with which you said that, Daniel, was just superb. And a lot of people, I think, are going to be on their notes, they're going to be drawing that house. It's very, very clear. How do you stay with that the whole time? How do you as an individual stay with purpose the whole time? Because the reason I ask that is that you and I come across people who are going, I'm trying to find it. Right? So what's your advice to people there, and then people who, once they find it, how do you personally stick with it the whole time?
Okay, so I think finding it is a really interesting journey because it's something that only you can do. What I mean by that is someone can tell you a lot of things, can tell you about problems in the world, challenges in the world, but you can't learn it, you can't buy it. It's an internal decision. It's this wake up moment that really only you can have. So you can have a conference, you can have everyone there and everyone talking about purpose, but maybe only half the room will actually discover their purpose, because it's an internal decision. And it's, I mean, the only way I can describe it, it's when that fire lights up. You would know this. I mean, you talk to the guys that inspire.
Oh, right? as in Ben and Harvey, and yeah.
I mean, you watch them light up talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's not just accounting to it's this whole idea. It's this greater purpose. It's about financial freedom. It's about making an impact in the world. But they light up. It's that light up moment that you've got to have that, because, I mean, the hardest thing is once you have it is to protect it. It's that little fire. It's that spark. You've got to protect it, and only you can truly protect it. But you can't manufacture that. So I would say to people, keep looking until you feel that spark, that flame, something that lights you up, that gets you out of bed that next morning even earlier, because you're like, I cannot stop thinking about this. For me, it was a world without extreme poverty, but it's hard to describe this. It wasn't just that alone that woke me up. It was actually the empowerment piece. It was this idea of, whoa, similar to you guys, like, but what if everyone was part of it? What if every product, every company, wow, and you just like, and you can't let it go. So people have got to search for that. When you find it, how do you protect it? Well, it's actually the most important thing that you'll probably ever have to do in your life, is to protect it, because there's the amount of waves, and people will throw cups of water on that little flame. Waves will come. On a personal level, this has been the hardest year, thank you, for me in 8.5, 9 years. It's just been tough. I've sat in meetings I never thought I'd sit in, people saying stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know I signed up for that. But without kind of unpacking it all, I suppose for me this year, on the outside, everyone's like, this is amazing. On the inside, it is amazing, but it is personally so challenging. But I got to protect the flame, the vision, that's that spark that I had. And how do you do that? Well, I think there's a few things you do. One, you got to walk with others. So mentors, co-founders, for me, people in these communities that you guys have created, you got to walk with others, because sometimes you need your mate just to go, come on, where's the flame? And they bring it out of you. They remind you. They sometimes maybe help you re-spark it. So I think that's important. Great people around you. I think continual connectivity to your purpose is important. You can't become so removed that you say like, oh, when was the last time you saw, say, some of the outcome of the work you're doing? 5 years ago. I mean, even if it's just a photo, a video, a phone call, whatever the impact outcome is, you've got to stay close to that, because at the end of the day, I think that will ultimately anchor you. And, I think just acknowledging that it's not easy is part of this process. Part of why I want to be so open, Paul, with my journey in life is because maybe some people have got it all together, and I love, it's good for those people. But there's a few of us that are struggling, but we're getting there. And I think we've got to acknowledge that to see vision become reality, to create change, to make 100 million impacts, as you guys have just tipped past that. Like, I mean, it's not easy, but that's okay. I think you'll get knocked over. People will say stuff, do stuff, things will come your way you probably never thought would, but that's okay. I think a lot of us are on that journey. It's the courage to get back up and go again. I mean, yeah, I'd just encourage every person out there who's been knocked down, go again. I'm going again. Let's all go again. Let's keep writing that next chapter. And I say that because I think ultimately encouragement from others around us, sometimes that is what helps us keep that flame alive.
Daniel, this is such a fascinating perspective, because often when we talk about, the sort of social entrepreneurship that you and I are involved with and so on and so forth, or what Muhammad Yunus calls, social business sort of stuff, the background story is that everybody's getting it, and so now is the time for these sorts of businesses to exist. Are you finding that, for example, you're dealing with the likes of Coles and Woolworths and so on with a very different proposition? Are you finding significant changes going on at that level?
A big business is going, yeah, this is the way business should be done, and not just thank yous way, but many models out there. I actually think it's getting to the point now that if as an organization and a business you aren't making a great contribution to the world, you shouldn't be in business. Now, I think that's big business. I actually think too, it's the millennial generation coming through and this mindset of, but why do you exist? Oh, profit and, and what? Why do you exist? Our purpose is, every conference I'm going to and I'm invited to speak a lot around purpose because every big, small business wants to unlock the purpose. In fact, I actually just think it's a deep part of humanity. Every single one of us wants to know why. Why am I here? What's the point? What impact will I make bigger than just me? And I'm seeing the shift. I think there's a long way to go. Some I sit in, I think, like, really? Are you saying that? Like, it's 2017. I'm pretty sure we've progressed from this conversation, but you want to bring it back to margin. You want more money out of us. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I want to say, and which projects do you want us to cancel? Can you pick the region because we're going to have to pull out? And that's a part of me that wants to fight back. But I think there's still a tension, and there will be for years, maybe decades to come. But I don't think that should stop any of us.
But we've got 13 years for the millennial goals there, right? So that's an awesome help. Just quickly on that purpose thing, and I know that you involve your team members, and that's part of the hiring process that you go through. Sometimes when they lose it, which maybe they do, what's the process that you go through with them? How do you pull those people back?
So we have a few anchors, like rituals, things built into the organization just to help re-spark the flame. Every 3 months, every quarter, we have our internal kind of impact meeting. We talk about the projects, the stories from the field. Most quarters, there's not a dry eye in the room. It's a refocusing. It really helps. So I think that's something we do internally. There's a lot of other messaging to keep people focused around purpose here, because I've learned if you don't have that going around, even for yourself,
falls over.
It falls over. I think there's another piece I put too, because you can almost throw so much purpose around that people get purpose fatigue or charity fatigue.
It's so true. That is so true.
Yeah, I get it. There's big problems with it. Do you have to tell me that? I think one of the most powerful words we can say is thank you. And that's not a brand plug. I mean, gratitude's a game changer. And I look here, one of the things we do every Friday, it's called Team Thank You. We all come together in a circle, like 50 of us, and we say thank you. And the way it works is I'll be like, hey, Paul, I just want to say thank you. One of our values is excellence and teamwork, and you came around this week and you emptied the bins. And like, it's not even your job, but I saw you doing that. I want to say thank you. And then everyone claps you.
Got it.
In business, we celebrate the big win, the big deal, or the new project that's been funded. But what about thanking people for the
bins? Yeah.
The all-nighter they just pulled, the report they just did? And I think a culture of gratitude and purpose, that's powerful. I think just one or the other is probably not as powerful, and that's our kind of journey.
And Daniel Flynn, you are a fantastic example of everything that we've just spoken about. From here, thank you for sharing time. It's amazing to do that with you. And I'm looking forward to the next one as well. But for this one, thank you. Awesome.
Me too. I'm looking forward to the next chat. And thank you, Paul, and everyone for your support.